thegearnetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Hi, this is Jeffrey Weissman. You might know me from all sorts of films and TV shows. Pale Rider, Twilight Zone, Back to the Future 2 and 3, Saved by the Bell. I don't know what you know me from, but know me now from All Bets Are Off with Robbie Vegas.
What's up, rock soldiers? This is the rockstar Robbie Vegas with another brand new episode of the All Bets Are Off podcast. Today, my special guest is Robbie Reckless. Robbie has been a mainstay on the independent wrestling scene for a very long time now, and I believe we met about 12 years ago, maybe more. I can't really remember, but we've been in the ring together a few times, and I've been looking forward to doing this interview. I actually meant to do it quite a while ago, so it's cool that we finally get him on here today. And before I bring you that interview, please give us a follow on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ABAO Pod. We run polls, we post pictures of all of our guests, clips of different bands that we've had on. Whatever you're looking for, we try and provide it. So make sure you give us a follow and subscribe to the podcast and leave us a 5-star rating and a great review. Please, if you are enjoying this podcast, we appreciate you very much. And it helps with the algorithm when people are searching for things that they're interested in. When you guys give us those ratings, we jump to the top. So very much appreciate you all, and let's get Robbie on the line.
Hey guys, I'm Ashers.
And I'm Pat O.
And every Wednesday we talk weird.
It's a weekly podcast bringing you the latest in
cryptozoology,
ufology,
conspiracies,
the occult,
and all the latest in 40 news. Everything from the ooky to the spooky.
It's like Coast to Coast AM for people who fuck.
Search for On Wednesdays We Talk Weird anywhere you get podcasts. See you guys next Wednesday.
So Robbie Reckless, man, thank you for being here for your very first time on the All Bets Are Off podcast, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime, man. I've actually been meaning to have you for a while, so this is going to be fun. I'm trying to remember, maybe you remember, what year we actually met.
Oh boy. I want to say around 2012, if not earlier.
That's what I was thinking too. It had to be somewhere right around there. And how many years at that time were you active in the business?
In 2012?
Yeah.
About 4.5.
4.5 years, give or take, is what you were around for at that time when we met?
Yep.
Wow. So how many active years are you up to now?
Coming up on this September will be 15 years.
Oh my God, dude. That's insane.
It feels like it.
Yeah, I'm sure. So the business has changed a lot since you broke in. Do you agree?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So what are your thoughts on that? Like, what are the biggest changes you've seen in the last 15 years since you got started?
A lot of it's in the training, actually.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I find. Some of the guys, personally, I don't want to single anybody out, but some of the guys that I train with, they just don't train the way that I used to. Like, when I started, it was like, how do I say it? It was very intense, and you gave it your all. I find that these guys sometimes now are giving it their all, but in a different way. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I actually, oddly enough, I think I know what you're talking about, only because I have my own school now. So so I think I understand what you're saying, because the training is different from when I broke in as well, which was 2011. So yeah, it's you're probably right. That probably is the biggest difference. But have you noticed like a difference as far as like the way matches are put together? And this could even go for mainstream wrestling. It doesn't just have to be indie wrestling.
Yeah. If you watch wrestling from like the 2000s, 2002 era, it seems like it was a long time ago, and it actually was now. It's a lot different. Honestly, I prefer the older stuff. Even back in the 80s, I'm a fan of the 80s wrestling, and I kind of wish we could see more of that style out of guys nowadays. But I mean, it's, like we said, the business is changing, and it's got to change though. Like, you can't just do the same thing forever.
That's true. I do think that there was more of a storytelling aspect to older style wrestling, which is what I believe made us all fans and made us want to do this in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. So
when you're growing up and you're watching wrestling, when do you decide, I think I want to do this? Like, how old are you when you make that decision?
For me, it was around 2001, 2002.
Okay.
which I would have been 11 or 12 years old at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the feud between like Kurt Angle and Stone Cold, SummerSlam and Unforgiven that they did.
Yeah, yeah.
During the Invasion angle.
Yeah.
And after, like, I was messing around playing with my friends in the backyard and stuff, which do not do this at home. But, and then when Shawn Michaels made his return, I was set. SummerSlam from 2002 was probably one of the best overall pay-per-views, other than maybe a WrestleMania.
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree. It was funny because I was going to ask you who was inspiring you, and right before I did, I was like, oh yeah, we're both Shawn Michaels guys, I remember. So you're like 11 or 12 when you make this decision that, hey, I think I want to do this. So how long before you start training after that?
Training after that? Well, I started setting up rings and stuff when I was about 15 or 16.
Oh, okay.
And then I finally did a seminar with Cody Deaner when I was 17, and then I started training later on that same year.
So you knew about independent wrestling pretty young then, if you were setting up rings when you were like 15, 16.
Yeah. The Neo Spirit days and FSPW, I was going to a lot of those shows.
Okay. Was that like a big thing? Was it like well known that indie wrestling was a thing in your area? Because I know for me, it took me a long time to figure out that it existed because it wasn't such a big thing.
No, not really. I don't think so. I don't think it was like overly popular at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, it was fun for me to go, and I knew about it, but that's because I was looking for it.
No, that makes sense. So when you actually decided to start training, who was your main trainer, and what promotion was this under?
When I first started training, it was with Chris Thorne.
Okay.
And at the time, it was TWA.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's bought out CWF from Ernie Todd back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably owned that now since about 2012, I think, actually, around the time I met you.
Wow, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so he's had CWF for a while now, and that's what he runs under. So I train with CWF. I'm actually one of the trainers at his school now.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Wow, that came around full circle for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, when you started training, was it like an instant like, boom, I love this, and you like kind of took to it, or was it like, oh man, I don't know?
No, when I first started training, I knew I loved it. Although a funny little story is I went on tour with CWF, and I took my first superplex, like three shows in.
Come on.
And as soon as we landed, just all the air left my body, and I couldn't breathe.
Oh my God.
And then as I was laying there on the mat, I'm like, do I want to do this? But then the comeback came and the crowd came up, and it was a hot finish, and then I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Okay. And that you said you were like 3 matches deep at this point?
Yeah.
Do you remember who your first match ever was against?
It was in what they call the Young Lions Rumble, and there were 8 of us in the match.
Oh, okay.
And it was kind of unique because it's a battle royal, but it's like Royal Rumble style where they count down the people coming in.
Okay.
And then it's pin or submission as well as over the top rope.
Oh, wow. Okay. And how did that go for you?
I eliminated myself.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. So technically in your first match, nobody beat you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Nobody beat me.
I love that. So, when you were obviously heavily influenced by Shawn Michaels, but when you start training and you start having matches, who else is inspiring you? Are you watching wrestling differently, so you're picking up things from different guys that maybe you weren't paying attention to before?
Actually, I feel like that didn't start happening for a while after I was training. I just kind of watch because I love watching. I don't really watch to pick it apart. Now I do, because I feel like you have to eventually hit that point where you can't just watch as a fan anymore if you want to actually do it.
Yeah, it becomes second nature to kind of point things out and wonder why things are being done a certain way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that being said, who are you watching now? Like, who do you like currently?
I'm pretty big on Kurt Angle and The Rock. I don't know why, but they're almost like two completely different styles.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. I was like, so you have the guy who's literally probably one of the greatest actual wrestlers of all time, and then the greatest entertainer.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, though. Is there anything that you take from those guys for yourself? I'm not saying like you're stealing things from them, but like modifying things and making them yours?
I'm honestly, I'm just trying to find a way to get Kurt Angle's intensity. It's hard to do, though, because that guy was intense.
Oh, my God, yeah, I know. And you watch back, too, it kind of makes me laugh because he did a lot of comedy stuff, but when the bell rang, he was just right back to being the most intense guy, and you believed it. There was no, like, well, he was just being funny 10 minutes ago. Like, you really were like, Jesus, you know?
Yeah. I think that's one of the things I'm trying to steal from him is to be almost like The Rock is out of the ring in his promos, but be like Kurt Angle was when he was in the ring.
Right.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I like that you're saying that that's something that you're trying to do right now because you just said that you've been in the business for 15 years. And I think a lot of people forget, and I mean guys within the business, that we're all constantly still learning and growing and evolving. You hear guys that just get set in their ways and that's it. But you don't seem to be that guy because you're still trying something new right now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you have to try new things. Otherwise, you get stale.
Right. And you being a trainer now, I'm sure you're trying to instill that into the students that you have.
Yeah, for sure. We got some good guys coming out of CWF.
Yeah?
Yeah. I know I said earlier about training with them.
Yeah.
Some of them train differently than what I used to, but I mean, there's still some good guys training there right now.
Is that something you ever thought that you would do? Like, was that like a goal of yours? Like, someday I'm going to train the next crop of guys?
Honestly, no.
Wow. So it just fell into your lap then?
Kinda, yeah.
So how did that happen?
I do enjoy it, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I didn't think I'd do, but now that I'm doing it, I have a lot of fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps me myself as well, working with new guys, because you got to be able to work with what they can do at the time, and then put that in, try to get them to elevate their game. At the same time, you're going back to basics with a lot of it and going over headlocks. And it's like, well, I know how to do a headlock, but how can I get the most out of this headlock now? Right,
yeah. And you know, that goes back to what we said about old school wrestling. There's storytelling. There's a way to work a hold for 7 minutes in a 12-minute match and make it good.
Yeah.
It's complicated. I know it's not, to people who aren't inside the business who are listening to this are probably like, okay. But like to us, we know that it's really a complicated thing to try and do.
Yep.
So who would you say, for you personally, just off the top of your head, are your 4 like Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling?
Oh my.
Yeah, I know.
It's hard to come up with just 4.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Is it WWE or is it all together?
It's all together. Whoever pops into your head, you could throw anybody out there.
Okay. Believe it or not, I don't think I'd put Shawn Michaels on the list.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, well, this interview's over.
He's still probably my favorite to ever do it. But just there's other guys that I feel like they've done it differently than he did. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. This is a really hard question.
It is. But, I don't ask it to everybody, but every time I do, there's always like long pauses in between.
I'd have to go probably Hogan, Flair, The Rock, and Austin.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I understand the approach. As soon as you said Hogan, I was like, we're talking some of the biggest entertainers of all time. No, I like it, though. I mean, The Rock and Austin, Hogan, and Flair, can you really argue with how much money those guys didn't just make for themselves, but for the wrestling business as a whole?
Exactly, yeah.
No,
yeah, that's a hard question, though.
It is, because it could be broken down as entertainers, wrestlers, who drew the most money. It really just depends on the way that you approach the question, right?
Yeah.
So you were, did you watch during the Attitude Era, or what did you come in after?
I watched a lot of the Attitude Era, but not as it happened. I watched a lot of it back on tape and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Because at the time I was only 9 and I wasn't really fully invested in wrestling yet. Like my dad was and stuff, but I never really sat down and watched until probably, like I said, the Invasion angle started happening.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not a bad time to jump into it either. As you said, with Austin and Angle, like, there was such classic feuds and big things going on in just the wrestling business as a whole at the time. So I could see why that could rope somebody in to want to become a wrestler.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell me about MWO.
Oh, MWO. That's a little small independent company that I run with my dad and my brother in Welland, Ontario.
What was that an end goal for you to start your own company, or is that another thing that just kind of happened?
No, that's one that I was planning to run shows well before I even got into wrestling.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was doing the budget, I was doing the advertising, I was figuring it all out, like.
Wow. And with your family too, was that always the plan?
Well, that wasn't exactly the plan. My dad always wanted in on it, but I didn't expect my brother to be in on it as well.
Oh, wow. That's really cool, though.
Yeah.
And how many years has it been?
Yeah, we have a lot of fun.
I mean, I'm sure. How many years have you guys been running now?
Well, we did a show in 2013 that we ran.
Really?
But that wasn't part of MWO yet. And then we did 2 other ones that before we branded ourselves as MWO.
So what were you flying under if you weren't using that yet?
Live Pro Wrestling.
Oh, okay, okay. So the classic flyer, except it was actually the name of the company.
Yeah, but we've been doing that as MWO, I believe, since 2018 was our first year.
Okay.
So, but we had to stop because of COVID, obviously, for a little bit. But now we're back. We got one on May 6th coming up.
So the thing about that is that I was initially booked to face you there. But because of COVID and some restrictions that were happening at the time, we couldn't do it. And I'm pretty bummed because that would have been our first one-on-one, and I've known you for like 11 years.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that one.
I was too. I really was, because I think the only time we've ever actually been in a match together was a 6-man tag.
Yes, I think I remember that.
As far as being across the ring from each other, I did team with you once also.
We teamed?
Yeah, Buffalo Championship Wrestling. It was me, you, Marcus Midnight, and Jackson Jarvis versus Rex, Troy Buchanan, and Davey Delight.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was a handicap match. Yeah.
Oh, I remember wrestling against you.
Yes, yeah, that was in Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, there was one very early in my career, because it probably was around 2012, 2013. It was just that one-time thing. It was just, I don't even know how it came about. There was some kind of angle we were running, and yeah, I ended up on your team.
Oh boy.
See, you got hit in the head so many times.
Yes, I have had a couple concussions over the course of 15 years.
Yeah, well, I got one in that match, so.
Oh.
So you have MWO, and, that was something that you always wanted to do. You're a trainer now. Do you have any other bucket list things that you want to accomplish in this business that you already have set out, like, before I'm done, I have to do this and this?
You know what? Honestly, I've never sent my stuff in for WWE or Impact or AEW or anything like that.
Really?
And I kind of think I'd like to at some point.
Yeah, dude, you got to get on that, man. 15 years, come on. What's the reason?
I saw you were just on SmackDown, weren't you?
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of WWE extra work and a little bit of AEW here and there too. So right. I guess I'm kind of I'm just surprised that you haven't because of your longevity in the business. Is there a reason why you haven't?
Well, I've gone through a lot in over 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
There's been some injuries, some personal stuff, and I don't know. Just when I was thinking about doing it, I ended up getting hurt, or I lost the confidence to do it. So I think it's something that I'm going to be working towards coming up in the future.
Okay, that's fair. It's a hell of an experience, I'll tell you that much. So, kind of staying in the same vein of like bucket list items and stuff like that, are there anybody out there that you haven't faced yet that you'd like to face? Do you have like a bucket list of opponents?
I've already wrestled him, but I feel like I need to wrestle him one more time. Is Josh Alexander?
Oh, okay.
I would like to get one more match with him at least. Somebody that I've never wrestled that I'd like to wrestle is Speedball Mike Bailey.
Oh yeah, he's real good. Yeah.
Yeah, I was supposed to wrestle him once for CWF, but the deal fell through because he was in Japan, I think, at the time.
Oh wow, okay.
So it didn't work out, but I'm hoping that one comes true someday because I'd like that for sure.
Now I want to ask you about something specific here. Well, I got a couple more things for you, but you went viral at one time because of an incident in, I want to say it was Erie, PA for Pro Wrestling Rampage. Is that correct?
No.
It
was, if it's the one I think you're talking about, is it involving top rope?
Yes.
And some vomit?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that happened for, at the time they were PWA, but now they're 365 Pro Wrestling.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It was actually at the Red Chevron in Guelph.
Okay.
But yeah, that got around.
So you got to walk our listeners through what happened here, if you're okay with it. So who were you in the ring with, and like what happened?
What's his name now? The Blade? The
Blade of AEW, yeah.
Yeah, okay. At the time, Pepper Parks. But yeah, I was wrestling him. I don't know. I must have ate something bad that day. It's not as good a story as people think it is.
No, but the clip was as good as people think it is.
Yeah, the clip is pretty good. But no, I don't know what happened that day. There was a while there where for some reason when I was wrestling, I just kept puking.
Get out of here.
I don't know why that was, but for some reason it stopped, and I'm glad. So
yeah. I remember you went to the top rope and just kind of turned your head and just projectile vomited and then just kept wrestling.
Yeah, it was gross.
And then you just had the rest of the match.
Yeah, well, I wiped my mouth first and then I went back to the match.
That's true. Always got to wipe your mouth first, for sure.
Yeah.
So now we're going to branch off from something that has nothing to do with wrestling right now, just real quick. You are a giant Taylor Swift fan.
Oh, who told you?
I pay attention to your social media. I don't know when I noticed this or like when I caught on, but like, when did that start for you? Because I know you'll post stuff all the time, and I'm like, wow, he really loves her.
Yeah, I've been a fan. I don't know if you know her albums, but I've been a fan since before her first album.
Really?
Yeah, I discovered her on YouTube, and I've been a fan ever since. And then I found out she had an album come out, and I was like, well, I got to buy that.
Yeah, so you're like an original Swiftie.
Oh yeah.
Before there was a such thing.
Yeah, I think what was that? 2006, 2007?
It had to be
somewhere around there.
Wow. Have you ever met her?
No.
Come on.
There's a dream.
Well, you're probably going to be very angry with me because I met her twice.
What?
I did.
No.
I really did. Not even joking.
Yeah. I'm jealous.
I didn't want to break your heart like live on the podcast, but I just wanted to throw out there that it did happen.
Oh boy.
So, but you've seen her live at least, right?
I've seen her live 3 times, yeah. 3
times, okay. So you weren't part of this whole outrageous thing where people were trying to like grab tickets and they couldn't, and then they were like buying them for thousands and thousands of dollars or anything, right?
Oh, that was ridiculous. I was trying to get tickets until I realized how difficult it was.
Yeah, I'm sure. There was some serious outrage over that. Like people wanted to like sue Ticketmaster or something.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Ticketmaster got a lot of flack about that.
You Taylor Swift fans are hardcore.
Oh yeah, Taylor Swift bands are hilarious.
You didn't ever like use any of her songs to like come out to for entrance music, have you?
I used her song "Haunted," but the acoustic version, not the lyric version.
Oh, okay.
And I've used "Ready" for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I love it. All right, let me curve this back to wrestling here because I feel like you'll talk about Taylor Swift all night.
Oh, I could, yes.
Well, let's well, first of all, what do you have coming up as far as bookings right now?
Honestly, I don't have enough.
Really?
I would like to start filling my calendar up a little bit more. But right now I have CWF coming up next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to a show called PWO, Pro Wrestling Ontario. I'm talking to them, so I'm hoping to get on one of those shows soon. Hint, hint. I understand though, because of running my own shows, it's hard to fit people in all the time and
right.
use different guys, and you got to cycle people in and out. And I get it
for sure.
So that was no pressure. And then I've been working with NSW and GCW, but I don't have any dates with them right now.
Okay.
And then I have MWO coming up May 6th.
So let's plug your social media then, because I want people to be able to follow you so that when these dates come in and you have the flyers and you're promoting that they could see where they could, catch a show and stuff like that.
Okay. I don't really use Twitter, but I have one.
Okay.
It's Robbie Reckless. And then that's the same for my Instagram, which I'm most popular on Instagram.
Okay, so that's where we'll catch you sharing the most stuff and doing all your promote. Okay.
Yeah, or Facebook, but my Instagram's linked with my Facebook, so I usually post stuff to Instagram and it goes to Facebook. I don't usually just share on Facebook.
All right, perfect. Well, dude, I really appreciate you being here. I think we might have even talked about you doing the podcast like a year ago, and we just never got to it. So I really appreciate you being here, man, and this was fun. I hope you had a good time.
I had a great time, actually.
Well, maybe we'll get you back on for some future wrestling discussions where we do our group discussions and stuff like that, and we'll get you on one of our panels.
All right, sounds good.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much, and you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right, listeners, once again, that was Robbie Reckless. Please give him a follow. All right, listeners, that was Robbie Reckless once again. Please give him a follow on all of his social media. Look for flyers, see when you can catch him next, and we will see you next week on the All Bets Are Off podcast.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.